Thanks, everyone. So today I'll be talking about how do we support adolescent mothers protect themselves and their partners against HIV, with the focus on disclosure and condom use. So HIV acquisition among adolescent girls and young women remains alarmingly high. Evidence indicates that 4,000 AGYW acquire HIV every week, with over 3,000 of these new infections occurring in sub-Saharan Africa. Adolescents and young people living with HIV tend to experience poorer HIV-related outcomes compared to adults, including exhibiting lower rates of treatment initiation, retention in care, and viral suppression, and they also face higher rates of advanced HIV-related deaths. Moreover, there is a significant unmet need for family planning, leading to high rates of unplanned pregnancies among these adolescent and young women, which contributes to adverse consequences for both their well-being and their children's well-being. So overall, we know that although condoms remain the most accessible and effective method for dual prevention of pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections, including HIV, their use has been on a decline. Adolescent and young mothers, especially those in steady relationships, encounter unique challenges when negotiating safer sexual practices, increasing their vulnerability to HIV acquisition. For those with HIV, reluctance to disclose one's HIV status is often driven by fear of stigma and discrimination, rejection, and the potential violence from a partner. And while research has shown that bidirectional disclosure, where both partners share their HIV status with each other, can increase the likelihood of safer sexual practices, including condom use, there is limited research on whether this association remains significant for adolescent and young mothers in stable relationships. So to assess or examine the association between HIV disclosure, knowledge of partners' HIV status, and condom use, we use data from the Hey Baby cohort study, which is a 5-year follow-up of adolescent mothers and their children growing up in adversities. For this analysis, we focused on adolescent mothers and living with HIV, those who have reported to be in stable relationships at the time of the interview, and where the last sexual encounter was with a boyfriend or husband. This resulted in 219 adolescent mothers living with HIV, and we conducted descriptive statistics and employed logistic regression, controlling for condom negotiation skills, cohabitation with a partner, past year experience of sexual IPV, experiences of depressive symptoms in the past 2 weeks, and other factors. So let's get to know our participants. In this analysis, 69% of adolescents were between the ages of 18 and 24 years. 61% had dropped out of school. 82% lacked access to all the basic necessities, and 36% had more than one child. 24% were cohabiting with a partner. 58% used a condom with their partner at last sex, and 70% disclosed their HIV status. 74% also knew their partner's HIV status, of which 45% mentioned that their partners were HIV negative, and 29% of their partners were HIV positives. So in our regression analysis, we found that those who have disclosed their HIV status to the partners were twice as likely to use condoms at last sex compared to those who have not used, who had not disclose their HIV status. We also found that condom use negotiation skills was a positive predictor of condom use at last sex. However, for participants or young adolescent and young mothers whose partners were living with HIV, who had 64% lower odds of using condoms, and there were also lower odds of using condoms if the participant was cohabiting with the partner, if the participant experienced a past year sexual intimate partner violence, and experienced depressive symptoms. So, what should we take home from all of this? The first thing is that HIV disclosure support and empowerment is needed to protect young mothers and their partners. What we found is that HIV status disclosure and condom use negotiation skills were strongly linked with using condoms at last sex. And this means that disclosure should be integrated into the comprehensive HIV care package for adolescent and young mothers living with HIV. Also, programs should empower pregnant and mothering adolescents to be able to negotiate safer sexual practices. Number two, we found that young mothers whose partners were living with HIV were less likely to use condoms at last sex. And this indicates gaps in comprehensive, accurate knowledge about HIV and condom use. And there's therefore an urgent need for comprehensive HIV and sexuality education, especially for those in steady relationships who are likely to be older and out of school and may lack motivation to use protection. And last but not least, we found that young mothers who are cohabiting, those who experience sexual violence, and those with a recent experience of depressive symptoms are at an overwhelming vulnerability. So interventions should really focus on addressing multiple factors, including mental health, gender-based violence, and sexual and reproductive health. Thank you.